Welcome to the Cabin Culture Podcast, where we spend a little more time diving deeper into all the fun parts of cabin culture. I like to think of this as both the material and imagined expressions of how cabin lovers, dwellers, builders, and designers wish to live a more simple and authentic life. Today, I'm on the road traveling for work, so this opening is being recorded on my cell phone while sitting at a desk in my Boston hotel. So many apologies for the compromised audio quality of the opening. On today's episode, we're doing something a little different. This is less traditional cabin content and more behind-the-scenes business and social media strategy. So if you're not looking for that kind of conversation, this episode might not be for you. But if you're anything like me, who is currently facing social media dilemmas as we expand to a new property, then this might be just what you need to hear. In this episode, I'm chatting with Taylor Hildreth, a social media expert who documented her A-frame cabin build from foundation to launch, growing from 0 to 30,000 followers before ever opening her doors for guests. She then successfully transitioned from a single property Instagram account to a broader Minnesota travel brand, and now has over 130,000 followers. This conversation tackles a challenge many cabin owners face, including myself. What happens when you expand beyond one property? Do you start fresh accounts for each of the properties or rebrand your existing one? Taylor shares the real challenges of pivoting a 30,000 follower account, including the year-long growth stall, behind-the-scenes criticism, and why she decided it was worth losing followers to build the brand she actually wanted. We dive into practical strategies for managing this transition and explore the psychology of social media growth, why consistency matters more than perfect content, how to build authentic engagement, and the trap of viral content that attracts the wrong audience for your business goals. Whether you're just starting to document your first build, managing multiple property accounts, or considering a major rebrand, this conversation offers practical strategies from someone who successfully navigated these transitions. Let's do it. How are you doing?
Good. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I am excited to catch up. I feel like I should start by saying for folks listening that this is going to be a less traditional episode of the podcast. I'm very excited about that. It's kind of the opposite of a cabin consultation. I am offering no insight, but instead picking your brain for insight.
Cool.
Specifically on social media. So this episode is not for everyone. Some people could give two shits about social media, but a lot of us who use it know what a powerful tool it can be, and also how complicated it can be, especially as you start to grow.
Yes.
And so, Taylor, I'd love to start with your relationship with social media to help people who haven't been following you. I met you as you started documenting your first build like years ago.
5-6 years ago now?
Yes, because you finished your build before us. And I was kind of like, yes, this is what it looks like to document a build. So share with people like what your experience with social media has been like, maybe even pre that build, like, because you did so well with that.
Yeah. So starting out with social media, I actually worked internally on social media before I took it on myself. I worked at a PR firm running social media for brands. That kind of burnt me out, and I decided I'd rather be my own boss than have someone be my boss.
Yep.
And so that's how we got into the Hill House build. We decided we wanted some sort of income on the side that we can run. We always dreamed of doing an A-frame. We stayed there for our anniversary, so we did that. We started.
And little plug, we have a whole episode where Taylor talks all about the A-frame. I will tag that below, but like go back and listen to that episode to hear more about your actual cabin.
Yeah. And then, so when we were sharing the build, I was like, well, we're going to need marketing. And I think I watched a couple other people in the space do it, and they started doing social media right before the build was done. And then they were trying to market almost past tense, like getting their word out. And I was like, we're doing this whole build and we're doing a lot of it ourselves. It makes more sense to start the social media process before there's even a foundation on the ground.
Yeah.
And so we got people really involved in that and grew our.
What was hard about that? Because I feel like a lot of people don't do that or are scared about it. So it might be helpful for you to talk about like, how did you make that less intimidating when there isn't an actual house to market yet?
I did. It was really hard because there was nothing pretty to show.
Right.
And
exactly.
In today's social media, when you're fighting everybody and their brother on, that's really hard.
Yeah.
I did a lot of, it was about a 2-hour drive from where we lived to the A-frame. So every Friday when we drove up there, I did like a Q&A. I wasn't live, but I was asking people, I'm like, we got the drive. What questions do we have this week?
Yeah.
And so I did a mix of having people ask us questions and sharing like what was upcoming of things that they could look at. So it was more me being the face of it before we had anything to show, just to take people along with us. And it gave you highlights. We didn't have a ton of pretty pictures, but it gave me something to keep the page active at least once a week.
And one thing to note about that is it also established routine. I've learned that really helps when people know what they can expect on a regular basis. That's really helpful for engagement.
Absolutely. Because they knew they were going to see me on Fridays. Like, hi, we're driving. And if they didn't, they're like, oh, are we not going to the A-frame this weekend? I'm like, no, we're not.
Right.
So yeah, definitely that. And then as things started, I decided I wasn't going to be afraid of not having a pretty picture. Like we had to share stuff. And so sharing the wood timbers, that was what was happening. And so we shared it in live time. And I think people getting to follow along weekly and knowing the process and what we were doing got them really invested. And then once the shell was up and we were actually doing things in it, because we did a lot of the build ourselves, then it was a lot of polls. Help me pick the stain color. Help me pick the green for our kitchen cabinets, because there's 8,000 greens in the world. And all of those kind of things. Or we're going to go shopping this weekend for the bedding and stuff. Come with me. And so it was easy stuff that I was already doing. I just had to put it in my head that, hey, take 2 seconds and share a picture of your shopping cart saying, we're doing the living room. What's something you want to see in the living room? And so bringing that along with us, and then just starting there was a couple of local Minnesota brands that reached out that were like, hey, would you be interested in having our artwork in your A-frame?
So the brand collaboration started early for you.
Yep. So our very first one was Wood Art Woman. I think she's out of actually Utah now, not Minnesota, but she reached out and she was like, would you be interested in having my art in your space? She's like, no catch. Like, I'm not asking anything of you. And we actually just have a little blurb about her in our guidebook, but that happened. And then she shared about us on her page as she grew. And then another Minnesota brand saw that and we were like, we would love to send you coffee cup. Like they do a lot of like Minnesota branded logo stuff. So they sent coffee cups, little placards, and a whole mix of things. But they have a ton of followers. And they ended up sharing one of our fall photos to their page once we started sharing. It was like a carousel, but like the main one was a hero shot. And we got 6,000-7,000 followers from that reshare in conjunction with a post going viral. So we had like a couple things all fall into place.
Was this during the build? Wow. So you didn't even have the cabin yet?
No, it was probably January and we opened in May. Because when we launched, we had 30,000 followers on the Hildreth.
Okay, that was going to be my question, is how did the growth happen throughout the build? Where did you see the big spike? So that's one of them. Yeah. And then, and what that transition looked like once you finished the build.
So it was the big spike was definitely, we had 2 reels in tandem going viral. One got 4 million, one got 5 million views. Plus the soda clothing share, plus I think another like A-frame account. Like it happened in like 1 week and we went from 6,000 or 7,000. So we had a good base to start, but it went like this really, really fast once we hit kind of our stride in that. And
that's I'm going to pause you again real quick. That's really valuable because I feel like even 6,000 or 7,000 at the beginning, a lot of people get discouraged by putting in the work when there's no real result. But my guess is when those brands started sharing you and people went to your page and saw a history of consistent posting, that makes them more apt to follow because it tells them that you're taking it seriously.
And from, you know this, but for anyone who doesn't, I also do social media for Airbnbs on the backside. One thing we see a lot when we do like creator collabs is if there's only 9 posts, the conversion rate of people that come to the page to actually follow is so much lower than a page that's consistently active because they know they're going to see new stuff. If they're not going to see new stuff, they're usually like, it's not worth the follow. And so I think people want to wait till they have a big following to really put an effort when it's discouraging. I know it's a lot of work, but it needs to be the other way.
I know. And you have to keep going. So how did you build? Because I feel like the 6,000 to 7,000 is actually really valuable information because that was you building. Everyone thinks like, oh, a viral reel, and then I'll have a ton of followers, but you were building slow and steady. Was that just consistency of posting? Was that just people finding you on the Discover page? How are you finding those 6,000 to 7,000?
A mix. So I definitely did my groundwork on my friends and family. I'm like, I need at least 100 followers, please. Like, can you go follow our cabin page? And then definitely I started doing a lot of community engagement with like Minnesota type influencers of just commenting on their posts of like follow them, but naturally engaging with their content. And then usually they're like, oh, cool, there's a new cabin coming. And as they start commenting or like, oh, I'm super excited. I got a couple of them sharing like excited for this cabin to open or those kind of things. And so creating natural relationships was really helpful because then as one shared, it was like, oh, cool, another new Minnesota cabin. I put Minnesota A-frame Airbnb in our thing. So if anyone's searching Minnesota cabin, hopefully
they're finding you. Yep.
So just a lot of those little things really helped. And then I think the consistent posting really went a long way because it was those reels and it was at the beginning of the reels life.
Yes.
And I think you saw a lot. It has changed.
Yeah.
I think you saw a lot more growth with reels when they first launched.
Yeah.
I would say I was one of the very first people in the cabin space to be doing reels. It was back when we had like the terrible filters and I can't use any of those videos anymore. But we were doing it and we were getting good engagement on it and good return on following. I think because we hopped on those trends really quick.
Early. Yeah. And helpful that you had the background. Okay. But this is also good for folks to know that there is someone out there that they can hire if they don't want to be doing it themselves. Because for some of us, myself included, I really like this part of the work. I think it's really interesting. I find it really fun. I think those are the best listeners for this episode if you want to do it yourself. But if you don't and you're really overwhelmed by it, there are people like Taylor who can do this for you and know what they're doing. And you can outsource it if it's not something you enjoy. Okay.
Absolutely.
So then you launched with 30,000 followers. And then over time, you transitioned that account. This is the moment that I'm most interested in. So let's go to that.
Let's go. Let's dive in.
When did that happen? Take us through that first year of managing, because also I think that transition is interesting of I'm documenting the build. There's tons and tons of content. And I felt this. And then all of a sudden you launch the Airbnb and your content strategy has to shift because you're never there. If you're booked fully, people are there. So how did your content strategy shift immediately upon launching?
So it was COVID year when we were building, and Matt and I was teaching at the time. School closed. So we actually were living at the A-frame. So I was able to share so much because as we were finishing it, we were physically in the building every day.
Yeah.
We launched Memorial Day. We are 100% booked summer through fall. So aside from like those turnover windows, which my cleaner's there.
Yeah.
I'm not able to get in there for the pretty
any
summer
content,
that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, we don't have any actual finished pretty build content in different seasons now.
Yeah.
So that was really hard. I then started having a couple of
this sounds like a lesson. Yeah, this sounds and I might have learned this from you, to be honest, because I booked creators before I opened our calendar for those first. I booked at least one in the summer. I filled a lot of spots. It also made the calendar look more full when you launched it. So it creates that feeling of scarcity. But I prioritize that. So that's a good takeaway for someone who's getting ready. Make sure you book those before you open the calendar to make sure you're getting that content.
Yes. And know what you're looking for. If you want photos, get a good photographer. If you're looking for reach in your area, find a person that can help you reach the people. There's a million people doing content creation. There's one or two or maybe five that will be perfect for you. So spend some time finding who fits you best for sure. But we had them get some content, fill the calendar a little bit. But then we were traveling and I was like, I'm not there anymore. I just had my daughter. We're now traveling for a year. And I had a couple of other Airbnbs reach out and say, hey, can you help us do this? I'm like, yeah, for sure. And they're like, well, can you give us a shout out on your Hill House page? Because it had 30,000 followers. And I was like, yes, but I didn't know how that was going to work. Because why am I now talking about all these other Airbnbs when it's Hill House?
Yes.
And so my husband was actually like, well, your face has been on this for a year now. They followed the build. They watched your bump progress because I was pregnant through the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing personal stuff about this build as well. And he's like, can you change it to be more of a you travel Airbnb type page and make this your job versus it being your Hill House account. I'm like, I don't know. And
yeah, what was your first thinking? You can see where we're going with this, obviously, because I am at that same point now of figuring out how we document this. But I've been like going back and forth for like a year. And part of that is we didn't know what our next project was. So lack of clarity around that. We know that now, but I'm curious, like what was going through your head in terms of cost benefit of changing the name versus just starting over and building a new account?
1,000. I was afraid that we were going to lose everything we built because people followed for one thing. And I was very afraid that they were going to see it go from Hill House to it was Taylor Joe Hildreth and be like, I didn't follow this person and I have no idea what this is anymore. And you spent so much time doing one thing to just like 360 it on people. It was really hard. And so I left it Hill House for the summer that we were traveling, but I started sharing bits and pieces of our travels, of a couple other Airbnbs that we were staying at or I was working with. And then I started sharing more Airbnb host tips or content creation tips, Hill House content, and then a smattering of other Airbnbs. So it was kind of a hodgepodge summer. We saw no growth. It definitely stalled. Like I was at 31 for almost a whole year. And that was a really hard year. But at that fall, I changed the account and I announced it. And I said, I understand a lot of you followed for one reason. I'm going to make another Hill House page. If you only want A-frame cabin content, it's going to sit over here. It will not be as active, but this is where it's going to live now. This page now is going to be more of an Airbnb travel page because I have 11 Airbnb clients now. I have Airbnbs that want me to. Yeah, I was running 11. I think I was running 14.
Oh my God.
And I scaled back on that. I only have two, mine and one other right now. Okay. But yeah, crazy. But this is what it's going to be now. And then I definitely saw a lot of stall. I had that 1 year as I was kind of getting my toes wet, trying to figure out what this was going to be. And then, so that was 2022. And then as I started traveling more, I figured out I needed to niche down to more Minnesota, some Midwest, the traveling everywhere. We weren't traveling everywhere anymore. And now that we bought a house back in Minnesota, it needs to be more Minnesota based. Once I had one post go viral about coffee flights in Minnesota. Once I found, that was kind of like my light switch for me. Like, this is going to be a Minnesota travel page or travels from Minnesota that I can tie it back to the state or the Midwest. Once I got niche down like that, I went from about being installed at 31 in 2022. Let's see, it's 2025 now, and I'm at 130,000.
Huge growth.
Huge growth. So once I found that happy medium, I was able to take back off again. But again, it is the work, and it's being okay with seeing the stall for a while, because you got to get over the initial loss.
Yeah. So I think the most applicable, like the way in which most of our listeners will relate to this is that, and this is exactly where we're at, is you start an account for one cabin because that's all you're dreaming of at that moment. Some people have more foresight and they start a brand, but a lot of us don't. We're like, I'm just going to build a cabin or buy a cabin, and this is going to be a marketing tool.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden you move on to your second one. I think that's the moment when a lot of people are like, and for a lot of them, they're like, okay, I did it once, I'll start another account. But if you move to a third, you're like, wait a minute, I can't run multiple Instagram accounts, nor do I want to. You can't what?
You can't get the content, 3-4 cabins. How are you possibly keeping people front of mind of which cabin is which? And why should they follow all three?
Right. And I mean, this is what I'm doing now, and I'm seeing that it doesn't work, right? We have like about 2,000 followers for each of them, but none of them are growing because I can't spend the time there. I am used to spending my time on Cozy Rock. That is where I post my content. That's where I spend my time. But now that we're working on our next project, I'm like, it makes sense to document it here because this is where our community is. This is where we've been sharing. But to your point, it doesn't make sense if all of a sudden I'm posting a property that's not Cozy Rock and someone just finds us and they're like, what is this? It just gets very confusing.
Or is it like, is this property right next to, like, are they on the same spot or?
Right. So the only conclusion I can come up with, and this is what I want hopefully your advice on as an expert in this area, is to change the handle for Cozy Rock and then restart a new Cozy Rock account and use this one as the hub. And any content about Cozy Rock, I will add as a collaborator, the Cozy Rock account. Any content about Cozy Camp, I will add them as a collaborator. So if you only want to follow one property, you can, but I'm still posting from one hub.
Yes. And the collaboration feature is huge in that space now, because you could only post on one page,
right,
but still have content that lives in multiple places,
right,
which saves your sanity a little bit from trying to run 3 different pages.
Right, right.
And you're definitely not alone. There's multiple cabins doing this right now that have started with one property, like a treehouse in Wisconsin that I know of is in the same boat.
Yes, yes, we talked about it.
2 other ones. And you're like, well, now what do I do with this?
Yes.
Because everyone has big, large followings that they curated. Why would you lose that?
Right.
Or it's also hard to move people. I think
it is hard to move people.
It's hard to move people. I do think it's worth the rebrand. I think you need to give your audience some background and some time with the same handle, mixing in the content, or making sure you're giving those descriptions of what's going on before you do the major like flip on people.
Okay. This is great advice.
And so once you do the flip, then you do the handle may look different. We're still here. You're still going to see the Cozy Rock content, but you're also going to see this new content. If you just wanted the Cozy Rock content, it'll be living here now.
Follow this new account.
And you may have to do that 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Because as you know, 200, however many followers you have, don't see your story on the daily.
So I'm guessing you did this, or you would recommend that I do this in my grid, not in my stories.
I would probably do like 2 stories and maybe a grid post of like, do a story 1 week, the next week. You might have seen it on our stories this week, but this is what's happening. You could even pin that post.
That's what I was thinking.
So if people are confused, that's the first thing they see, like, oh, okay, this is going to be this now.
Yeah.
And then maybe a month down the road, be like, by the way, in case you missed it, we're now rebranding. You'll see a new username. It's still us. It's just going to be if you liked what we did before, it's just going to be an expansion of that with different cabins.
Yeah. And it does help. Similar to you, my face has been on Instagram a lot. So it's not like it's just a cabin. It's only been just a cabin. It has always been about the humans behind the cabin, but I still worry about people feeling bamboozled and just being like,
for one thing.
Yeah. And then here I am, I'm getting this and this isn't what I wanted, or I don't even know why I worry about this. Like, oh, is she just taking advantage of, she built this account with a cabin and now she's just switching it into a personal account, which is not quite what it is. But I don't know why I worry about that, but I do worry about, rather than starting a new one.
I think it's a valid worry. We were in different spaces. I did have people who felt that way.
And they told you that?
Not to my face. It got around. Minnesota's a small state.
Yeah.
But I definitely heard through the back end sometimes of like, she built it being one thing. I think now it's such a moot point because I think in the moment, some of the people's toes that I might have been stepping on a little bit felt like I just jumped into it when they worked really hard to get there.
Oh, I can see. Like a Minnesota travel person might think that.
It's a valid point. It really is, right? And especially when moot point now, it's so not a thing. But I think there'll be people in this lovely world do find ways to make it about them sometimes. And so I think there will be people like that. And it's a bummer when you're doing it because everyone grows. And no matter what you're doing in life, you're going to have growth and change in relationships and all of that. And so I think just explaining to them that this was not I'm going to get you to follow for one thing and then I'm going to take it selfishly. Like we are evolving and we'd love you to evolve with us.
And it's going to be the same type of content literally it's the stuff we're posting now. It's just our newest project, which is slightly different than a new build in Freeport. It's a very old house in Booth Bay Harbor, but it's still the same idea. It's still hosting. It's still hospitality. It's still, the same kind of content. I just get nervous about it. If you're dreaming about a cabin build, or are in the midst of a build, or you just bought a place and are getting ready to host for the very first time, regardless of where you are, sometimes you just need a little help along the way. Shared experiences from someone who's been there, advice from someone who's learned a lot of lessons the hard way. That's me. Or a cheerleader as you finish up. All of these reasons are exactly why I started offering cabin consultations to our Instagram followers and friends who could use some specific one-on-one help. I can't promise to solve all your problems, but I can promise to be transparent about our build costs and process, our organization and project management systems, our favorite and least favorite tools for renting, how we market, and how we found ourselves with almost 80,000 Instagram followers and 100% occupancy in our first year of hosting at Cozy Rock. So if that sounds like it might help you, feel free to visit us at staycozycabin.com or on Instagram at Cozy Rock Cabin and sign up for a time to chat there. Okay, well, can I pick your brain on handles?
Yeah.
Okay, I've narrowed it down to 2, but if you have something better, and because the advantage is now that all of our properties are in Maine. That was also a confusing part before, is that one of our properties was in North Carolina and 2 were in Maine. And now we sold this summer the one in North Carolina and put that with a 1031 exchange into the one in Maine. So they're all in Maine.
That's nice.
So nice.
You can at least have Maine cabins as you like.
Well, except the new one isn't a cabin. It's an old house, which it throws a loop in it. So I don't have cabins in it. So the 2 that I've currently reserved are Stay with Janice, which is really, that emphasizes the hosting. The reason I like that one just talks more like, okay, it's clearly we're hosting at multiple properties, not specifically cabins. Yeah. And then in the bio, it's all about Maine. But the other one is Janice. Okay, so Stay with Janice wasn't available. So tell me how much this matters. It's stay.with.janice.
I wouldn't.
Really?
No.
It's that bad?
It's just clunky. And I feel like people like pretty things. And when it looks, and I know people who do double letters and stuff because they would rather have a double letter than an M dash or a period or. So
fascinating. Because I agree with you. People like pretty things. And I visually, everyone that I've tried out, I've created a profile. One of them has a couple followers and I'm like, guys, I'm not ready yet.
No.
But I have to reserve it. Yeah. And when I look at that one, it doesn't look as clunky. I hear you on some of them look clunky. Okay. Anyway, that's good feedback. Good feedback. And then the second one is Janice in Maine.
Mm-hmm. Because are you afraid with Janice in Maine that they're going to think you're a Maine content creator?
Yes.
That if I saw the handle and only the handle, I would expect to go there and find Maine recommendations.
Yeah. Which is not what I want to do. The content is going to be more about like what I care about posting about is heart forward hosting, is real estate investment that cares about community more than money. It cares about people more than profits. Like that's the heart of it, is like in a world of real estate accounts that are like bros talking about scaling and doors. That's like not what we talk about, And I want that to be clear. So the other one I had thought about was like heart forward hosting, but it doesn't have my name in it. And there is a part of me who's not trying to create a separate brand. So without my name in it, it just feels like I'm trying to create like another brand. And that gets confusing too.
I like your name being in it because your name has been in your Cozy Rock page. Like people know your name. It's not like it's just been Cozy Rock. You've been such a part of it. And so I feel like keeping yourself a part of it isn't such a jump.
Yeah. Sean said my name shouldn't be in it because he doesn't like my name. Well, he didn't say he doesn't like it, but it's like, it's such an old lady name, but that makes it easier to find handles because there's less Janice's on Instagram.
Absolutely. I mean, I would keep the name. I think it helps tie it back to you and what you're doing as a whole. But then it's where you go from that, obviously, which is.
I know. So those are the only 2 that I came up with. And you're saying the periods don't work. I've been going back and forth on this, Taylor, for like literally 6 months.
I was going to say, you messaged me a while ago about this.
Well, and that's when we had another project in mind. So part of what made it tricky is not knowing what the next project was. It was like, are we documenting that? What are we doing? Now that we know the next project, which we closed on last month, I can actually get serious about it. But it's paralyzed me from posting because it feels like it doesn't fit under the Cozy Rock brand. But if you're saying I need to cross post under Cozy Rock for a while first, that's good incentive for me to just start creating the content that I want to create, not care about the name, and then slowly transition it.
I think it'd be a good test for you too, to see if you notice. I'd watch your analytics and see if you notice a difference in analytics and if you notice a drop in following when you post about them, to gauge how your audience is going to take the whole shift. Because if you notice an initial 10 follower drop or whatever from like one day, it's like, oh, did they not like the information that I put out? Or if you don't notice a change at all, are they okay with the evolution as a whole?
I think there will be a drop. I think there will be a pretty significant drop. And I think I'm really okay with it. I've never super been attached to the numbers on our account. It's always been like, oh, what a pleasant surprise. We hit 100K or whatever.
Yeah.
But that has not been our podcast teasers never do well, period. The algorithm doesn't like them. And they're my favorite content because it feels like the most valuable stuff that we're offering that is different from what others. So I've never cared about that. And I almost feel like the growth has brought people who like want the plans, want the paint colors, want to replicate what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I would be fine with 50,000 followers who are here for what I want to create. So I honestly feel like I don't even care if we lose a whole bunch of followers, but it allows me the freedom to speak to the audience that I want to speak to instead of trying to please everyone by making posts about what are our paint colors to answer the questions.
I completely agree with that. I think people do get so caught up in the numbers game, and I would rather have 1,000 people that want every single post that I'm putting out and they're excited about what I'm doing.
Yes.
And a mess of people that only came for one thing and one thing, and then they won't touch 90% of what I put out in the world.
Right. Because it's a little bit discouraging when I put out the kind of content that I want to put out and it doesn't resonate. It feels a little bit discouraging. I keep doing it because I just feel like the importance of that stuff existing, even if it's 10 people, at least they have an alternative to what a lot of other accounts are putting out, which is fine. They have a different audience, but I crave that voice of who's talking about the human side of this versus the real estate financial side of it. But it does feel discouraging. So I kind of feel like if it got rid of all the people who are just like, why is she posting about this again? Instead of show me the plans, show me the build, things like that. I think I'm okay with that.
I think it's a super good way to approach it as well.
Okay. So
you see it a lot too with huge accounts. There was like a container build out in the Pacific Northwest. They got like 1,000,000 followers.
Yeah.
But I think he said he didn't see like a huge growth in bookings when he opened because they wanted to do what he did. And so he kind of had the wrong audience for what he was doing. And so that's where social media gets really tricky because you want the audience for one thing, but you can't control if that's the audience coming in or not.
And I think a trap is that you can find, and I think this happened with Devin, I think you find certain reels that do really well. So you keep producing those reels because every time you do it, it sees growth. So for us, I know exactly what shots, exactly what walkthrough will hit 1 million every time if I pair it with trending audio. But who it attracts are people who share it and like, oh, I want to build this. And then they want to find out the plans. And then that's what they're there for. His was when you drill out the windows of the container and drop them down, those went viral every time. Of course, that attracts people who want to build a container home versus people who want to stay in one. And those are just very different audiences.
But it's easy to get caught in the numbers game of it versus knowing what you're bringing in, because you just assume the numbers are going to relate to the marketing goals that you have.
Yes. And the reality, and you can probably relate to this, the reality is we have hosted a lot of guests who want to build a cabin like ours, who bought the plans for that specific cabin and want to see it in real life first. And that is real revenue for us. I like hosting them. I don't have any problem hosting them because it helps them see that they're probably not going to be a repeat guest and they could be a potential competitor in the future. I'm okay with that. And so I guess my other question though is like, how did you see the impact? This is my other biggest fear other than what people think is that it takes away some of the specialness of Cozy Rock. Like right now, when people go there, they're like, oh, it's this viral cabin. It's a really special trip for us. Will it change that? Will it feel less special? Will our bookings go down? Does it change the guest experience, and will our bookings go down? I guess are the two things I'm worried about by taking that away from Cozy Rock and putting it into a more human brand.
I would hope not, because I would hope that people who are truly following for the drops of your next dates and the information for Cozy Rock would follow the new Cozy Rock page. So you may have less followers, but will they be the ones that are like on it when you're still posts that we're dropping the next round of dates or that kind of thing? So I think as long as you get them moved over, it'll be a smaller page, but I think they'll be the ones that are ready for that content. And you already know the second you do a video walking through the living room of your cabin, of the little pan, it's going to do well. So you can even put a couple over there just to give that one some growth, because new pages get a boost in the algorithm. And so if you give it what it wants to start just to make it happy and then get a couple people moved over, I think it'll still be okay.
Okay. And have you noticed a drop in bookings in Hill House when you switch to the page over?
Not entirely, but this is a double-edged sword. Because we opened during the COVID times, we were 100% full, but no one was traveling to Europe and no one was flying.
Yeah. Yeah.
99% of our bookings came from a 3-hour radius of Minnesota. We still have great numbers, but we're not booking 90-95% anymore. We're booking 65-70%.
Yeah.
So we're still doing very well. And because we got a low interest rate, we need 9 nights a month to break even. So
amazing.
For us, we're still good. So yes, we saw a drop. I don't know if I could definitively say it was because of moving over the page.
That's right. Because it's also just a different market now. Also, there's more saturation, like more cabins have been built in the area.
Our area is insane with how many cabins we've had.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people have now, we have a couple that have like multiple. So they started with one, but now they have 6 in our area. Yeah. And so that's definitely a piece of it too. But I think it's a double-edged sword. We've also made our area a very big tourist destination. Yeah. Tourism is up insane. Our main street went from a tiny little antique store to a full main street now.
Yeah. So it's good for the area.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So you can't really fault people for wanting to be in the same games. It's just you roll with the punches, but I can't say it was because we switched. I definitely don't have the same reach. When I get a little desperate for a weekend, I'll throw it on my big page. I try not to inundate my big page with Hill House stuff. I'm like, hi, we have a weekend. Can you please book it?
Yeah. Well, but also it's good for people to know about, because you probably are gaining followers over there who might not know about Hill House. And so
I realize there's a ton, because I'm not great about talking about it anymore. And I'm like, I need to be better about
Is it that you're not great about talking about it, or you're intentionally trying not to talk about it too much on the main page?
That one.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be like, okay, you did it one way, now you're using it as your personal billboard for.
Why do we care so much what other people think?
I feel like I'm trying to be so helpful, and I'm like, I don't want it to come back as like, okay, it's just all about her. And I don't think anyone would actually think that, but I definitely internally am like, she just thinks it's her own personal billboard for her life. And I'm like, it's not, I promise.
But also that's marketing. Like, think about JVN. I love following his account, right?
Yes.
And yet he still posts about his hair products all the time. Because it's related to what he's doing, right? And he posts about his stuff all the time. And when I see it, I'm not like, ugh, promoting your stuff again. I'm just like, that's part of who he is. You are someone who documents Minnesota travel, and you also host guests at a Minnesota cabin.
Correct. And I share Minnesota cabins quite frequently. So why am I so afraid to share mine?
Right. You should share yours most.
Right. So I need to be better about it too. But it's those internal struggles that you definitely have.
I feel like dudes don't do this though. I feel like dudes don't. I feel like they just promote the shit out of it. And I think I make everything about gender because I was a women's studies major. So I'm constantly thinking about what parts of this are gender, but I just don't feel like dudes do it in the same way.
There's probably more of an emotional tie to it. Like in your own head, where it's like, no, I have a problem and a solution. It's like when I'm dealing with my husband, right? I'm like, no, I'm sad. And he's like, yeah, but you could solve this. I'm like, I don't want to solve it right now. I want to be on
That's right. Okay. This has been so helpful. Any last advice for me as I think about doing this / embark on this transition?
Have you asked your followers yet? Have you?
Probably about when I talked about it with you. I asked about it.
Mm-hmm.
What should I ask? Here's the thing, Taylor. Part of me doesn't want to ask because I have made so many decisions in my life based on what other people want me to do. And the reality is I don't want to manage another social media account. I want a hub where I can.
You don't want to give them the option and then they all decide that's the option. You're like, actually, no, that wasn't even
right. That's not the right answer. I feel like I know the right answer. And I'm like, and if that isn't your answer, you can totally unfollow. It's like when people get mad at me about other stuff on social media and they're like, I'm unfollowing. And I'm like, please.
Congrats. This is not an airport. You do not need to announce your different.
That's right. That's right. This is my account. I can do with it whatever. Oh, you don't want me to post political stuff? Okay. Goodbye. That's right.
No one is forcing you to be here.
Yeah. I mean, what I would ask them about is about handles, because I'm like, I could clearly use some input on that, but I don't. But to your point, maybe it might be a good entryway into this is getting ready to happen conversation, just in stories, right? Not in my grid.
I wouldn't do a full grid post. I would just do more of a story, or even just a talking about it. Maybe it's not even an asking them.
Yeah, I have done that.
This is where I'm at. This is where I think we're going. So you may start to see some stuff.
Yeah.
I do think it helps to know what they think sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you're going, but it does, you have your answer. You know where you want to go with it.
I know.
I
just want to manage one account.
Of how do I get from here to there?
Yeah, it's overcoming the fear and honestly coming up with the right handle. If I came up with a handle that I loved, I feel like I could like go full forward ahead. And I really liked Stay with Janice. I thought that was going to be.
I like it. I just wish you didn't have dots.
So I need to add double letters is what you're saying.
You do 2 E's.
Or 2 Y's.
Or two Y's.
I can try.
And see if that works. Did you look at the account Stay with Janice?
Yeah, they have like 2 followers. Like they're not doing anything with it.
Isn't that the worst?
Yeah. For a second I thought, and I still kind of wonder about this, I thought I had reserved it because I went through a period where I was debating and I reserved a whole bunch of accounts, but I couldn't log into it. And when I tried to reset the password, it sent the password to an email that I did not recognize. And I was like, oh, I must not own this.
Never mind.
But I went through and I had saved so many for a while because I was like, I just don't know where I'm going. So I'm just going to reserve all of these in case one of them works.
I like Stay with Janice. I think it keeps the whole hosting part of it and it has your name. Like it's, and it's simple. It's not super long or convoluted.
Yeah, it's not too clunky. It doesn't sound.
The main one I would knit. It sounds too much like a travel creator to me. And I think people would go to follow it and then be like, oh, this isn't what I was looking for.
Yeah. And part of me, like we do travel to other cabins sometimes. I don't do it as a paid thing, but we've done collaborations where I'll create content for them. And that would fit on a Stay with Janice page, but would not fit on a Janice and Maine page.
I completely agree.
All right. Any last tips for me?
No, I think you're there. I think it's just getting over that hump. Okay. And it's scary. I know it is, but I'll cheer you on. You'll have me.
Thank you. Thank you for this. I knew you would be exactly who I needed to talk to.
Yes. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Okay. Bye, friend.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. And if you liked what you heard, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or share some of your favorite parts over on Apple Podcast. If you have feedback or suggestions for the future, you can also find me on Instagram at Cozy Rock Cabin. Looking forward to next week.